All right, hey guys, how you doing today? It's Sunday evening. I'm excited to be here with you, joining you tonight. We're going to do something a little different, outside the box for me. And I get asked questions all the time saying, Doc, what do you do for yourself? What do you do when you're taking care of yourself? What do you do when you don't have someone else around? How do you do it with your family, your friends? What do you do? So I thought I would do something fun tonight. And I'm going to share something with you. Now, I got together with one of the companies I use. And I use supplements in my practice. I always have. I do a lot of digestive support. I do a lot of, what else do I do in there? Things that are immune supportive, things that will help the body benefit and heal faster and quicker. And so I thought tonight, for something fun on our Sunday evening, as we're all joining one another here, that I could do something really, really cool for you. And I thought I would take a product that I have used in practice now for almost 2 decades. And I stumbled across this years ago. I really, really liked what it did at that time. And in the last several years, with all the uniqueness that we've had going on, with all of the upper respiratory things and some of those that shall not be named, all of this got me thinking, boy, I could do something good for you guys. So as you all know, I host my radio shows. You join me every Saturday and Wednesday morning. I'm always there for you. So I thought, what could I do to help you out that might really, really pay off during cold and flu season? So I'm going to take us around the umbrella here of what we see and really what got me going on this. I was doing my show, a house call, last Saturday, right? Just a couple days ago. I'm doing my show, and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, okay, and an article came out that said, we now are almost ready, almost, not quite, we're 14 people away from curing the second disease of all time. And I thought to myself, all right, the second? You're telling me in 100 years we've cured one? And now we're getting ready to cure number 2. The guinea worm, of all things, right? That's number 2. Now, the Carter administration got on this back years ago when you had roughly 3.5 to 4 million people getting infected with this parasite. And it just got me thinking, well, how did they do it? What drug do we use? What shot did we use? What therapy are they doing? They cleaned their water supply. They turned to hygiene. And they found that in these third world nations, if you could go and clean up their water supply, you could all but stop and completely extinguish this parasitic infection on the population. And it clicked. I thought, all right, what if we could wash other things? What if you could use your common sense and say, well, gosh, when my hands get dirty, I wash them. And sometimes they get really dirty, so I got some soap and wash it good and rinse them off. And then sometimes I go places where I touch things that I shouldn't, and I'm looking for the hand sanitizers and washing that. But the key is, those 3 things are all different. Water can get dirt off. But when you start needing something a little bit more, you got to dig a little deeper. It reminded me of the old, was the Dawn dishwashing detergent commercials, right? And they had a lasagna pan, and you'd bake the lasagna, and it would stick to it. And they're like, look, hot water's not going to do this. It's not enough to get this off of here. You got to use some kind of a detergent, some kind of a wash, some kind of a thing that can get those little pesky things that are sticking to that pan off of there. And then it clicked. I thought, I'll share something I use in practice, something I use all the time. I use it daily. I have it with me, right? Something I use daily. I use it every day at lunch when I come home and every night when I come home. Now, I'm going to go back to some of my colleagues and friends, a doctor by the name of Peter McCullough. You guys have heard about him. He's all over the news lately, and he's a friend of some of my colleagues and friends. And one of the things he brought up that I thought was fascinating, he said, he goes, in this time of respiratory viruses and infections and all these things getting up there, he goes, sometimes just common sense hygiene really can help. Sometimes just doing basic things can turn your life around. And he referred to how certain viruses and things sometimes get in the upper sinusy cavities. And when they get in there, they just sit there and multiply and multiply and multiply as they're sitting in that mucosal barrier. And in theory, he's like, wash them out. Wash them out. If they're breeding in there like mold in a shower, get in there and clean it out. Well, that's the good news. We've seen now in this last year especially, numerous articles coming out of research journals and universities showing that, look, Man, if you can irrigate and wash the sinuses, the tonsils, the adenoids, the back of the throat, man, you can have a profound effect on how all these things that hit us in the wintertime, your upper respiratory viruses, your colds, your flus, things that come in through these passages. If you can affect those areas, clean those areas, then those things don't get a good foothold on you. And if they don't get a foothold, it's really tough for them to spread. It's really tough for them to reproduce. It's tough for them to infect you. And I thought back and I thought, God, have I heard this somewhere before? And I remember reading an article years ago out of Harvard University research saying, look, if you would gargle just salt water during the season, man, it knocks down colds and flus and things of that nature by about 60%. And I thought, well, this is better than that. It's going beyond gargling. It's saying, you know what? Where does a lot of this stuff come in? Does it come in there, or does it more come in there? And have we seen this last couple years with all the respiratory concerns going on? Everybody wearing their mask and breathing in their own exhaust, creating a damp environment. Doesn't it make sense to wash it? I mean, I thought about this and I thought, if I went to the hospital and I had a cut or a wound, wouldn't they clean it out and wash it real good first? And I think to myself, well, gosh, if I scrape my knee as a little kid, my mom would come in and wash it, and then here come the Bactine, right? And it would burn. But you just knew you'd clean it. And I've watched the uniqueness of what we've been doing for the past 2 years, and I think to myself, why aren't we just washing things first? And so I turned to this. The product is called Xlear. It's Xlear. It's something I have used in practice for almost 20 years. I love the product, and I love the product for numerous reasons. The biggest ones are really how it actually works. So I'm going to give you a little science about how things get in that nasal passage, right? Something that a lot of people don't know is when you breathe something in, it can sit in here for 3 to 4 hours trying to work its way through the mucosal barrier. And as I've seen with certain viral infections and bacterial things, and pneumonias and strep and staph and stuff that you breathe in and gets into your head, we've learned that, gosh, you know, you can be around someone who's ill, and as long as you rinse this bad boy down in 3 to 4 hours later, it can really help your immune system fight back. And I thought to myself, well, I do it every day at lunch when I come home, because I'm seeing patients all morning long, and I don't know what's in there and what's not. I do it at night when I come home again, because I'm seeing patients all day long. And yet here I am, 2 years into something that's global, and I feel okay. And I think to myself, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. And so I thought I would share something I do with my family, something I do with my friends, with you guys. And it was an opportunity to do this. So let's go through this thing here. I really want to focus on the washing aspect, right? You get dirt on your hands, water will do it, won't it? A lot of times you just get some water and you've been in the hose when you're a little kid. So those saline rinses that you see where they do the salt and the water, it's fine for dirt, but it doesn't get that lasagna off that baked pan. You need something that kind of interferes with how stuff tries to grip, how it tries to hang on. You need a detergent. You need a soap for all intents and purposes. Well, one of the nice things about the Xlear product is its primary ingredient kind of does that. It's a xylitol. It's a sugar-based alcohol. And one of the ways I've explained this in practice, just to keep it simple, right? It's kind of like flypaper in a way. The things are drawn to it because like, oh, look, there's sugar. That's fuel. But it's the wrong type of fuel for them. It's like diesel in a gasoline engine, but they don't know that. And they're drawn to it, and all of a sudden they're like, well, wait a minute, and they're slippery. And they can't seem to adhere to your own mucousy linings. When they can't hang on, guys, they get pushed on through the system. The body says, hey, I can blow stuff out. I can swallow it and let those stomach acids and things get at it. They don't get the chance to anchor in and dig in and then eventually find their way to the lungs. So when you look at little simple things like this, you think, oh gosh, if I could just wash that surface real good, it's almost like a non-stick pan. And you think, well, if I did that, could it help me? Well, guess what? Here's the research that's out there right now. When you look at respiratory viruses, you look at flus, you look at colds, you look at things that come in through that doorway. If you can keep it moist, if you can keep it coated like a primer, then it makes it very, very difficult for that environment to be user-friendly for the toxic things. Now, you've all heard me talk about viruses, bacteria, and funguses and how they're all medically known as opportunistic. They're looking for an environment. Change it. It's not hard. Change the environment. They can't adhere. If they can't adhere, it's really hard for them to throw a party if everyone's getting pushed out the door all the time. The numbers don't build. If the numbers don't build, it makes it way, way tougher for that bug thing, whatever's trying to get started in there, to create a problem. Now your immune system actually gets a helping hand up. And it's not through some magic. It's not through some miracle pill or cure or this or that. It's just going back and saying, oh, get the right detergent to wash the grease off my hands. Water isn't doing it. I buttered something. Water isn't getting that off of there, but the right, oh, hey, look at that. And it starts to clean these things. So as you're going through this and you're thinking about what could I do, I want to come back to something that I heard Peter talk about. And when he was discussing washing the sinus and the effect that it has and what it can do for you, they're showing now that if you can keep that sinus cavity somewhat clean, it stops these things from having an environment that they can just brood and get going. And all of a sudden you end up in a hospital, you end up sick, you end up with pneumonia, you have all these problems. If you can just keep that clean, it can stop you from getting ill. It can stop you from getting sick. What an investment. I can gargle a little bit. I can rinse that passage, and that will help me from avoiding things maybe that should not be named. So as we work our way around this barnyard and I'm looking for all these cool things, I think to myself, how do you help someone? Well, let's recap why we get in trouble this time of the year, because this is really the key to it all. The winter months roll around. You see all the respiratory viruses, the pneumonias and the flus, they kick up in the winter, right? Why? You ever ask yourself, why not in the middle of July? Why in the winter time do they kick up? Well, think about it. We go inside. We shut the windows. It starts getting dark out early and we're all like run down and tired. We start eating all those holiday treats that we know weaken that immune system. That's a fact. We add the dry forced air heat. So now all of a sudden we're sitting in a confectioner's oven all day long. At work, in our car. How many of you get stuffy in that thing, right? Driving, whoop, when that heat's really poured into you. All these things start chipping away and drying you out. How many of you want to drink big glasses of cold water during the winter? Not many, right? We're like, whoo, I'll wait till summer till I drink that again. So as you start looking at this, you think, man, so not drinking my water, the indoor air, the dry forced air heat, not getting the sunlight, not getting the rest, all those sweets and treats that we all love during the winter months and the holiday seasons, all these things start chipping away at that lining. You've got this protective mucosal lining from the nose to the mouth all the way to the exit, guys. And it changes in thickness all the way through. Your body tries to turn it over daily, multiple times a day. It says, hey, I got to repair. But if it's dry, it starts getting like bad concrete. It gets brittle, it gets dry, it gets cracks in it. And that creates an environment for something opportunistic to say, oh, there's a hole in the fence. Let's go through there. And all of a sudden, bang, it's inside. The sinuses swell, they become irritated and full. Now you can't circulate your normal nutrients and immune system through that environment. But what if you could change it? What if you could just simply moisturize the environment? What if you could put something up there that would clean the environment? And not just saline. People talking about neti pots all the time and saline. So that's just water. We need something for grease. What if we could put something up there that when people get on it, it's like ice. They can't hang on. And whoop, away they go. Now, the research coming out of Asia right now is showing us that when people can clean that sinus, keep that thing going good, man, it has knocked down certain respiratory viruses across the planet. What a cool thing. Simple, easy. It's hygiene. It's been around a long, long time. Is it a cure-all? Nope. It's not what it's for. It's simply to say, well, if I hurt myself, I'd clean it. So why wouldn't I keep this skin clean? The skin inside my sinus. So what I did is I got a hold of the people who manufacture this product, Xlear. And I put something together for you. You've got a link here. It's probably under the first comment pinned to the top of our page. It's in the title of this thing. If you guys would like to investigate this, look into this, they're giving me a percentage off and some little promo code I think you do. You're welcome to. You don't have to. It's your choice. I use this stuff. You can buy it a lot of different places. We're just going to get you a little something back for giving me your time tonight and Sunday, and I appreciate it. But it's something I thought was valuable. I see that the potential then is, gosh, so Doc, if I start feeling bad and I'm not feeling so good, it would make sense to wash, wouldn't it? It's the law of sanitation. It's one of the universal laws of the human body. You wash the outside, why wouldn't you try to wash the in? Doesn't it make sense? And you think about that and think, well, gosh, if I got around someone that was ill, maybe I could wash my sinuses, my body. Didn't they tell us for 2 years, these last 2 years, make sure you wash your hands for the right amount of seconds, but they didn't tell you to wash where the stuff actually comes in. Isn't that crazy? They didn't sit there and say, hey, you know what? You might want to gargle a little bit. You might want to wash that nasal passage where we find this at. And here's the real irony. When they're looking for upper respiratory viruses and all these things, what tests do they run on you? Where do they put it? How do they get it? How many of you have traveled abroad and had that rotor-rooter digging around up in there? You understand? That's why they do it. So in my mind, it's like, wow, it makes sense then that maybe if we could help people rinse that out, wash that sinus out, maybe we could do our part to help the whole planet right now during this time. It's a wonderful product. It's something I use in practice, like I said, for almost 20 years. I've had thousands upon thousands of patients in my career who I've helped this with every fall. I'm like, guys, here it is. Here's what we do. Now, it's got lots of uses because it's a wash. But we're thinking immune right now. We're thinking, you know what? It's cold and flu season. I don't want to get sick. Could I do something that might help me? Yes, you can. It's simple. It's easy. Again, I put it up in the top at the link there for you guys if you want to use it. It's also pinned to the top of our comments here. You're welcome to do so. I'm Dr. Sean McCaffrey. I'm the Robin Hood of Healthcare. Enjoy your clear sinuses. Bye-bye.